Joining us on our instant series, preview and reaction series, of course, episode number 25 is our good friend Ben Steele, Marquette men's basketball beat reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Ben, good to see you, my friend. How are things after that massive victory on Wednesday night?
Yeah, things are rolling for both of these teams. Who would have thought, a couple weeks ago that this would loom large as a pretty key matchup in the Big East? But yeah, Marquette's rolling right now. Things are good in Milwaukee, so I'm excited for this one.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be it's gonna be a raucous atmosphere, especially on Wednesday night over at Seton Hall. We got a chance to see number 15 UConn get stunned with a 17-point lead. Seton Hall came all the way back and won 67-66, and now they face Marquette on Saturday. January 21st at 4 p.m. CBS Sports Network. And then on Wednesday, of course, number 22 Providence rolled into Milwaukee, and Marquette, they beat him 83-75, and it was all off of Cam Jones, the sophomore guard, who scored 18 of his 21 points in the second half. And talk about a closer. What a job he did.
Yeah, he's become kind of the go-to scorer in the clutch when Marquette needs a bucket, like they did yesterday after Providence cut it to 5 a couple times late in the second half, and Cam got a steal and a breakaway layup, and then a big three-pointer a couple minutes later that kind of closed the door. Providence kept hanging around. You know how Providence is. They're very physical. They can wear you down. They were getting to the free throw line a lot, and they kept hanging around, but Marquette finally closed the door. And yeah, Cam's been a really he's Marquette's leading scorer.
Yeah.
But Marquette's very, very well balanced on offense. So it's not always Cam every game, but when they need him to, he's the guy that takes the big shots.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Mike, go ahead. I'm gonna give it to Mike Szabo this time. There's so much to talk about here with this Marquette team, ranging from the 2003 Final Four team and then all the way to this big game on Saturday against Seton Hall. Mike, take it away.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ben, once again for coming on with us to talk Marquette. Like you said, I think it's the top headlines, of course, will always be about Cam Jones, and he's the leading scorer, all the improvements he's made. But I think we always got to mention about how good Tyler Kolek has been this year. And he was transferred from George Mason, I believe. Right. Everybody sort of questioned it. It was kind of under the radar kind of acquisition from Marquette, and he's turned into such this stable point guard at 19 points last night. What really did Shaka see in him, and is turned into such this key role player? Well, not really role player, but reliable point guard for this team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been a revelation. I think he's one of the best point guards in the nation, honestly. And you mentioned he played at George Mason. He kind of played off the ball a lot there. And I don't think even Shaka Smart and his staff knew quite how good of a passer. I know they had an idea of it, but I'm not sure they knew that it was going to be this level where, he's got 15 assists and 0 turnovers against Georgetown like he did a couple weeks ago. He went through a stretch where over 4 games, he had 39 assists and 3 turnovers, just crazy, just operating at a really high level. And yeah, this Marquette offense is like one of the best, number 2 in efficiency at KenPom. And it all starts with Tyler Kolek and his passing ability. That's like contagious to all. This team really shares the ball. You'll see that whenever you see him play. And we mentioned with the balanced scoring, like the ball just moves around a lot and it finds really good shots. And it starts with Tyler Kolek as the point guard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially those. I knew you were about to go into those advanced stats. Where's Jaden Daly when we need him with those with those advanced stats that all the Marquette fans love? I'm gonna just take this over for one quick second. You brought up also, Mike, about Tyler Kolek against Seton Hall back on the 27th. He was held to just 4 points, 8 assists, 3 steals, 1 of 5 from the floor. Mike, continue. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about how efficient this offense has been. Again, last night, over 50% from the floor. They're just sharing the basketball or whatnot. What makes this offense so efficient?
Yeah, it starts with the pick and roll with Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro, who's also a tremendous passer as a big man. He's kind of the most unique weapon probably in the Big East as like a 6'9" guy. He handles the ball. Sometimes he brings the ball up the court. And they run a lot of action through Oso as the center. And he's a really, along with Tyler Kolek, he's just like, that passing that's contagious. Like I talked about, it goes through Oso too. He's a big part of that as well. And they get really good shots. They're not a tremendous 3-point shooting team, pretty average 3-point shooting team, but I haven't checked today, but going into the game yesterday, they were shooting above 60% on 2-pointers, and it's all mostly around the basket. And that ball movement is just finding really good shots, really efficient shots around the basket. And that's why that offense is ranked so highly amongst all the efficiency metrics.
It's truly amazing to see, especially in the paint too. You brought up that numbers, and really just around the paint too, around the rim, that they're doing so well. And we saw Ben together against St. John's out in Queens about in the beginning of the month, about 16 days ago. We saw that, and that's pretty much how they were able to suffocate St. John's down the stretch too. Was right around that, right around the basket and everything like that. And you brought up about Iguodaro. One guy that I remember we were talking about it. You love is Omax Prosper too. Yeah. He's just been this 6'8" guy that has been really tough and against his opponents. And looking at the matchup with Seton Hall tomorrow, or rather on Saturday, it's crazy to think that this developing front court that Shaheen Holloway has been slowly building, it's finally coming together, and they were able to do a lot of damage against the Alex Carabans of the world, the Adama Sinogos of the world, and the Donovan Klingons of the world as well. And those three, or really the latter two, in Sanogo and Klingon, they were both in foul trouble with about 6 minutes to go. And then, they were able to exploit things down there. But now it's a little different. The height is not 100% there for Marquette. What is your game plan that you would see Shaka Smart going into the game on Saturday? Because again, if they can take down Sanogo, what makes you think that they can't take down Marquette?
Yeah. The big matchup, Casey and Defo is probably a really good matchup for Oso Iguodaro, just with the speed and the length. Oso's not a really big, strong guy. So he's kind of skinny. He's put on a lot of weight since he's been at Marquette, but he's still a very slender frame, so he can be pushed around on the boards a little bit. So that's a really interesting matchup. And then, Marquette's going to want to take down Kadari Richmond. And you mentioned Omax Prosper. He's going to be the guy that's probably going to be seeing the most time on Richmond. Omax is like a 6'8", super athletic, really hyperactive defensive player. He has his moments on offense, like we saw against St. John's. He scored 29 points in that game. Yep. So those are two really good matchups that are probably going to settle this game in the front court. Different kind of front courts. Not your typical bangers on both sides, but really athletic, really versatile players.
Yeah. Mike, go on.
Yeah, I think, Ben, we also got to look at from the Providence game. They gave up 75 points to the Friars compared to, we saw Providence hit 100 on them in the first matchup. Has there been any talk in practice, really? Has there been adjustments on defense or whatnot? Because I think a lot of coaches in this league always say this, but Shaka's identity has always been about defense, yet the offense has been so efficient this year. But is there just more of an emphasis to want to get back to those defensive roots? We saw such an improvement on there on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I think that's the next step for this Marquette team. Like you mentioned, it's kind of ironic. Shaka is known as a defensive coach, but this team has been carried by the offense, and the defense isn't quite there yet, but they have the talent. And I just think it's taken a while for them to lock in. There's so many players on this team that are in much bigger roles than they were last season. Basically everyone that's in the rotation now is playing much bigger role than they did last season. So I think it's taken some time to gel on the defensive end. There's flashes every now and then where you can see like this can be a really good defensive team. It just hasn't done that for 40 minutes yet. They were definitely better yesterday against Providence, but I still think like there's still another couple levels on defense that this team can get to. And if they could do that, time will tell, but I mean, it's going to be very scary. But if you couple a really good defense with the way that this efficient offense has come about, Marquette could be a really scary team.
Yeah, I think the other thing, we can go back to what Joey was saying about the game plan and how tough really Seton Hall has been defensively, pretty much for everybody throughout this Big East season. What adjustments really Marquette has to make sure that offense continues to be efficient over, I think, what's probably one of the more tougher defensive teams this league has had this year.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, it all comes back to that ball movement for Marquette and moving the ball from side to side, attacking closeouts, and finding the right matchups against. And Seton Hall is going to be a tough, man. You guys have seen how much they've improved over those first couple of games in the Big East. What they started like 0-3 in the Big East, right?
Yep.
It's really kind of like Marquette last season. Marquette also started 0-3 in the Big East. Like that first year coach, it takes a while to find the rhythm a little bit. So yeah, it's I'm really interested in that. I haven't broken down, the Seton Hall game tape from the last couple games. I've been pretty busy with the Marquette stuff, so I'm really interested in seeing like how much the Seton Hall defense has improved since these teams met right around Christmas time.
Yeah, and you always bring up how you brought up about how the offense is really what's carrying this team when Shaka Smart is known as a defensive guy. And it's the same thing when you look at the Seton Hall side. When Shaheen Holloway, he carried the St. Peter's team in the MAC last year to the Elite Eight. And it was because of the defense that turned into the offense. It's kind of a little bit, the other side, the other side of it. But, Ben, going back to that game, December 27th, that was a game when a lot of the Seton Hall folks in New Jersey, they pretty much turned off the TV after a while because it was pretty ugly for the most part. And, you look at the turnover numbers too that Marquette has, and they are so low. For yesterday, Marquette only turned the ball over 9 times, and against Seton Hall, they turned in their first meeting, they turned the ball over a grand total of 7 times. One of the best in the country. Truly remarkable. The not only the ball movement, but just the discipline is so huge there for the Shaka Smart team. And you look for the Seton Hall side. Dre Davis had 15. Femi Odakali had 11. We brought up earlier. Oso Ighodaro had 16 and 10. Omax Prosper had 15. Kolek had 4. From I guess from the Marquette side of things, going back from the 27th game against Seton Hall till yesterday, Wednesday, what is the biggest difference with this Marquette team that you have seen, aside from obviously the number next to their name? But what's the biggest difference that you've seen in the last three-ish weeks?
Oh, wow, that's a big question. Yeah, there's a lot of things I could point to. I think Oso Ighodaro has definitely taken a leap as a player, almost like a star turn almost for him. I think you could see the confidence coming with him. I mentioned his ball handling and his passing ability. That was there from the beginning of the season, but the last couple of weeks, he's really been aggressive looking for his own shot. He had 19 the other night against UConn. That was a week ago now. But he's been really aggressive with like getting to his jump hooks. He can shoot those with either hand. His scoring abilities, he's much more confident in his scoring abilities these last couple of weeks. And I think that's probably what's also unlocked the efficiency for Marquette on offense, is having a center like that can do so many different things and create those mismatches.
Sure.
So I think his confidence has definitely skyrocketed the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they get, we bring up about the turnovers too. Just another thing too. Providence had 13 turnovers and Marquette had 18 points off of the 13 turnovers. That was something big there too. Mm-hmm. Mike, it's all you, sir.
Yeah, I think the other thing I want to go back to, I know we talked about how guys on this Marquette team are taking some more elevated roles than where they were last year, and you look at where Marquette was posted in the preseason poll, and now all of a sudden 15-5, 7-2. Is that what it's down to? Is that what this league really missed, the potential improvement of a lot of these guys that we're seeing so far?
Yeah, Shaka, the biggest thing that the biggest emphasis he's put on since he came to Marquette has been player development. That comes at a variety of levels. I mean, you got to have players returning year after year to have the development, and that starts with the relationships. And there weren't any major transfers out. Greg Elliott, who was here for 6 years, went to Pittsburgh for his last COVID year. That was the only transfer out from last season. So the players that returned, they just got significantly better. We mentioned, I can't talk about the improvement of Oso Ighodaro enough. Just like,
oh yeah,
I thought he got better a lot last season, but the leap that he's made this season, and just like I said, over the last 3 weeks has been remarkable. Omax Prosper has gotten way, way better. He's almost like I could see him as like a future NBA draft pick, the way he's playing it at 6'7" and super athletic, and can guard a variety of defensive players, positions on defense. He's a versatile offensive player. Tyler Kolek he's probably had the most similar role to what he did last season, but he's gotten significantly better, significantly stronger. He's shooting the ball better. He's getting to the basket more. Stevie Mitchell is the starter now. He's probably Marquette's best one-on-one defender on the perimeter. Cam Jones has, become that explosive scorer. You saw the flashes in that last year, but now it's more consistent. I mean, you just go up and down the roster, man. Every one of the players has gotten significantly better than last season. That's a testament to the players' work, and it's also the coaching staff. They put a lot of emphasis on that player development, and it's really showing.
And also, I just want to just say this, because I know Ben, you remember this, but Mike, we were at Big East Media Day. All three of us were there, and if I'm not mistaken, Marquette was picked to finish 8th, right? Was that what it was? Ninth, right? And
ninth last year too.
Ninth last year too. Who was it? Was that Cam Jones or Tyler Kolek, the one where the shirt came out where he was fuming about it, right? Who was that?
Yeah, that was Tyler Kolek.
That was Kolek, right?
Yeah. F him. Yeah, I don't know if you can curse on this podcast.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. Yeah, no, just say that and then the asterisks. Yeah. But you know what though? It's truly amazing that, that this is happening. As you said, Mike, I think it was what you said, 7-2 in the league. They're ranked top the league.
Yeah,
and look,
half a game out of first place.
It's amazing to see. And you know what? How everyone is sleeping on Marquette, how everyone has slept on Seton Hall, which in the beginning it looked like things were going that direction, but then the calendar shifts to 2023, and here we are, and the same thing now with Marquette. My goodness. Mike, take us home.
Yeah, I think that we mentioned this is going to be a key matchup, and that Marquette wins, you start seeing some more separation, I think, from a lot of the middle of the pack of the Big East, and in terms of the top half, the Providences, the Xaviers, and whatnot. If Seton Hall wins, you start trying to drag everybody back down with you. So it's going to be interesting. What's the main thing really that Marquette really needs to repeat in order to have that dominating victory that they had a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, we wanted. I think Marquette wants to see the defense get better, like we talked about. The biggest weakness on this Marquette team is defensive rebounding. It allows a lot of second chance points. Like I mentioned, the front court isn't very deep. And Oso is a skinny guy. He's a good rebounder, but he can get boxed out a little bit. So that's the biggest deficiency on that team, and it's probably going to be the biggest deficiency the rest of the season. Marquette puts a lot of emphasis on having its guards crash down to rebound and help out with that problem. But I think it's going to be an ongoing issue the rest of the season. So Marquette's really got to be aware of that every game. They try to force more turnovers on defense so they can get back those possessions that they kind of lose, giving up the second chance points and offensive rebounds and everything like that. So those are the areas defensively, just being solid defensively and securing the defensive rebounds. Those are probably, that's what I watch every game, just seeing how those issues improve themselves. And it's going to be, like you mentioned, like Marquette's trying to separate itself and stay at the top of the conference. And then if they want to do that, they're going to have to get these big road wins like it's coming up on Saturday. That's going to separate them from the rest of the conference. So those are the issues that I'm going to be watching. It's going to be a good one, I think.
Ben, for you, my last question, and our last question here. Last night was the celebration of 2003 Final Four run. So Dwayne Wade was in the house, and much of the team was in the house too. And then we got a chance. I was taking a peek at your article from last night, and there were a few guys that you had asked a couple of questions to about what was said in there. And it seems as if that Dwayne Wade is very invested in this year's Marquette team, which is truly amazing to see a future surefire NBA Hall of Famer is really invested in this program. How big is that from your vantage point? That he went into the locker room, he was giving them some advice, and now these guys are listening to a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade went into the locker room before the game yesterday, gave him a speech. Cam Jones said that Dwayne Wade told them that Marquette basketball is about playing together and uplifting each other and making each other succeed. And Shaka mentioned this after the game that, the coaches tell the players that all the time, share the ball, we're better together, all the coach speak stuff. And, Shaka said, it's one thing to hear from me, but when Dwayne Wade says it, like the players actually listen to it just resonates more when, one of the all-time great, the greatest player in Marquette history, one of the top 75 NBA players of all time. When he's saying that, it really, drives it home for the players. So I think it's been pretty cool for them, especially, the most of this roster is pretty young, but still have that to develop that relationship with like an all-time great. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really amazing that you were able to witness that. As one of the beat writers for Marquette men's basketball, ladies and gentlemen, Marquette men's basketball beat reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, our good friend Ben Steele. Ben, thank you so much, my friend, and we will see you on Saturday out in Newark.
Awesome, guys. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with our next instant preview / reaction with Road to the Gardens' Tommy Godin previewing Villanova and St. John's.